So this is us once again here to express our views, our opinions as Tarabans from Taraba living in Taraba. There has been a recent happening that has over time clouded the political space, particularly in the state. I mean, if you are familiar with the happenings in Nigeria right now, it's a political season. We just concluded the presidential and national assembly elections, and by this Saturday, the gubernatorial and state assembly elections would hold. And just like the fears people that conversant with these situations had prior to when it first hit us, it finally came. The endorsement that has trailed the atmosphere from different bodies. First, from the Christian Association of Nigeria, then from the Muslim Council, as I would say, clapback of some sort. Now, as Tarabans living in Taraba, we have different feelings as to how we took that. Why we had those feelings is different. So today we have panelists who are part of these bodies, but first as Tarabans, they would speak of their personal opinions of such happenings, of such doings by their various bodies, and how it affects them, their neighbors, their friends who must maybe not necessarily part of their faith or belief. So I have from my right Reverend Father Walter Fai and Dr. Abdul here with us. And I guess when I throw the questions to you, probably introduce yourselves better. So the endorsements came first from the Christian Association of Nigeria, endorsing a particular candidate. And when I went through personally the endorsements, I had a different, like, more or less irritated kind of feeling towards it, because the content and the reason as to why the endorsement happened was for me not good enough. So I don't know, for you, I would start as a priest. How did that come to you?
Okay. First of all, thank you for having me here, and you're doing a very wonderful job. And thank you. I think that it is, first of all, within a context. You know, if we take it out of the context, then we may just veer off and lose focus of the various interpretations. So my interpretation of how I took it is only relevant within a particular context, within our given history as a nation to start with, and the peculiarity that it is a heterogeneous nation, and also that multi-religious. This is the context, right? So everything, and when the times for politics like that comes, every 4 years for us, it is a time that the atmosphere is very saturated and pumped up, and you can imagine that the sensitivity of everybody is at the edge and high. So I think this is the given context, right? This is the given context. There is no harm. There is no harm whatsoever for CAN or whatever body to give any endorsement. There is no harm for any pressure group to market their candidates. There is no harm. But you see, the peculiar concern that I have is the one that resonates with what you said, that the wordings, the wordings, some of the wordings and some of the reasons upon which a particular candidate is forwarded or is being endorsed, that may slightly be problematic personally, right? This is personal opinion for me. And like I said, it is because of the context of our peculiar situation and the reality that this is a very sensitive matter, that it is not even a matter of who started, who is first or who is second, because these are recurrent stories. There are clerics from the Muslim fold that have said things that are unprintable. These things, some of them are not even here. Some of them, they're in Kaduna, some are in other parts of the country, and they say specifically things here. And so I didn't feel very good because of some of the wordings contained in the letter. So I just felt that they should have been more cautious in some of the specific words, right? Maybe more cautious, so that you know that you have the right to your truth, you have the right to your choice, but your right only stops at when it becomes very inciting or that kind of a thing. So that's how it went down for me.
Okay, so to you, the same question. What was your first feel to that, or I would say your reaction to as soon as you saw that from both bodies?
Yes, thank you for inviting me, and I'm happy to come here to say my view concerning the recent development in our political atmosphere, not only Taraba, I think Nigeria as a whole. And maybe if we look at it at the global perspective, you see, we have to at least look at the historical things that happens about in concerning our political developments, right from colonial days. I may not put any blame on anybody, because the society was transformed over time, and the way we found ourselves and the system that were brought, and the kind of orientation that was people were given, especially through the Western education. At a particular point in time, if we look at the traditional institutions, they were so relevant in the society, but at a point in time, because of some circumstances, whereby some of them, or maybe part of them, accepted to be maybe to be guided instead to be guardians of people, and at a point in time, the system now consumed them. So also if you look at the issue of religion now, before the arrival of the colonial masters, I think we used to witness religious leaders are the guardians. Whenever, if you have a pastor or an imam in your quarters, before you even engage in anything, you have to consult that person. And we knew in history that during those days, I think people were relating cordially. There wasn't any problem around us. And history continue we continue to witness so many issues, especially with the democratic dispensation, whereby people, instead of the religious leaders to serve the role of guidance, now they fail to serve their own role, because like what Karl Marx and other scholars are saying about, you see, when two people meet, they must need assistance. If they live together, then there must be a sort of symbiotic relationship between them. So and one of the important elements they mentioned that will cement them is religion. If religion is there, because religion is something from divinity, there is no any human interpolation there. So if they allow religion to be their guide, then they will live in peace. But anything that comes in that is not religion, then it will misguide them. What is happening currently in Taraba is, we have different religions, especially the Christian and the Muslims. At a point in time, I said it at different fora that our scholars from both sides failed to do the right thing, whereby instead of, you see, politics is about establishing justice to people, guiding them, doing the right thing to them, and there should be a check and balance. Who is to put these people on a balanced equilibrium is the religious leaders. So when the religious leaders fail to do that, then there is always problem. I'm afraid this is what we are witnessing now, but I'm afraid in the future something may happen different because of the way religious leaders gave way and failed to do their role in such a way that the politicians are now guiding them.
Yeah,
because religion must be there to guide people. Yeah. If there is no religion, then people will go back to the barbaric, whereby there will also be chaos in the society, whereby the might will be will be the order of the day. But now, the civilization, I think, is high time for the religious leaders to come to their sense. The check and balance that is supposed to come from the religious leaders, not from the politicians. The moment you join the politics now, people begin to think of the activities of the political parties. But no, it's not only about the activities of the political parties. You have to come down even to the level of your family. The politics begin from your family, because the way you relate with your husband, with the husband and wife, child and the father, the politics start there. So that is how the society will grow off to a community, and that is how the way we brought our children, that is the way they will take it, and that is the way we will transform them. What we are witnessing now is the result of our misdeed in the past. Maybe some people decided to be preaching in such a way that the preaching is so primordial. Don't love this. I knew in my father's house, I'm an indigenous of Karim Lamido. I grew up and I ate in the same dish with people of different tribes, different religion. I think if you look at me, that time, you hardly even differentiate between me and the child that comes from another house. We relate, we relate with them. So in essence, the way I'm looking at things now, this issue, I think at a point in time in one of the administration, there was a council set by one of the governor. I could not remember exactly.
So, before you conclude on that,
yes.
There's something you said, and the sensitivity of, in the context of the endorsements from both parties, the wordings and the sensitivity for it. And there's this saying, you have to learn to read the room, right? It's the fact that prior to that endorsement, over time I've said that, at least I've been grown up enough to be able to categorically state the energy from 2011 elections to 2015, 2019 to now. The fact that prior to elections, there's always this divide, whether mentioned or not. We cannot be hypocritical about it. Now, to the fact that we are in 2023 and then these sensitivities are there, those endorsements rather triggered these divisions rather than help.
Really?
To the fact that I don't know if the candidates, whoever has been endorsed, have realized how much more bad, in some sense. Yes, it's going to help them in some sense, but in the same light, they are going to also be painted in the regard of faith. So let's say, Khan twice endorsed Darius Dixon initial coup. Whether we agree to it or not, the energy in the state translates as him not being able to have performed. Now, if over time you've seen yourself endorsing someone who has come out to be an outright failure, if I should use it in that context, why not necessary? Was it even necessary to even go that or to that path of endorsing someone?
Okay, like
instead of advising, okay, just vote for the right person because this person can do X, Y, Z. But no, in the letter, no accounts of track records, no accounts of scrutinizing what the person has been able to achieve in the current positions or previous positions. But just because this person is a Christian brother or just because this person is a Muslim brother, vote for this person. So regardless of what way the person is going to take us, we don't really necessarily care. Just vote for this person. So you wanted to answer.
Okay, yeah, you asked about the necessity of the endorsement. And I think that, like I said earlier, the relevance of this conversation is only when it is within a context.
Yeah.
You take it out of the context, it's not relevant. It's not important. And to the necessity of endorsement is a question that directly asks the authority of Khan or Muslim Council.
Yeah.
It is a direct question to the authority and legitimacy of even the authority, which they have. The Muslim Council have legitimacy in their authority to counsel, to guide, to direct, to nurture, to groom, to mentor, and all of those things. To even check, as a matter of fact, to even check. Because it is a body that has religious overwhelming it, but the undertone is also that of an institution in the society, so that the affairs of all Muslims are a concern to the Muslim Council.
Yeah.
That is why it's a council, right? And also, the affairs of all Christians are a concern to the to CAN as an association. So, the question of necessity is a question that directly links to the legitimacy of the authority. Does CAN have the authority? CAN has the authority.
Yeah.
Does Muslim Council have the authority? It has the authority. What authority? The authority to guide. And this is a divine mandate that, because religion should be the conscience of a society, Muslim Council, through the imams, the CAN, through the pastors and religious leaders generally, they have the mandate to guide the affairs of their sons and their daughters.
In it becoming the conscience, sorry, sir, in it becoming the conscience, is at this point, is it a positive conscience if it's creating more divide?
Okay, now that was if I could just catch up with the thought that I was trying to express. So I am saying that what you need to do is to weigh. Parents have the authority to train their children, but there is equally a training that does not materialize into positive growth, right? So that we can even have parental irresponsibility. There are utterances that have come from both quarters that are irresponsible, outrightly irresponsible. To their faces, I will tell you, this is irresponsible. This is very irresponsible. You are not sensible. You are not sensible enough to watch out the atmosphere, to know what is going on, and to know how all of these utterances can go down the line and affect negatively, most importantly, because that's why we are here in the first place, right? So this is sounding from both quarters. As a matter of fact, the letter from CAN is just, how do you call it? It's just a tip of the iceberg, right? It's just nothing. It's nothing when you look at it in the bigger context. Because the letter from CAN has a fitting. If you look at the precedents, it has a fitting to say that, okay, because in the logic of the letter, there are things that they mention, things such as ancestral land, things such as protection of the religion, and these are the same things that you hear even some Muslim clerics say. A protection of the religion, protect the religion, protect the faith, protect the people, because you know that if he's a Christian, he's going to do this, he's going to do that against the religion. So I want you to understand that it is only within that context that this discussion is relevant. However, we will say that since it is headed towards destruction, anything that should come from CAN or from Muslim Council or pastors or imams in their individual capacity should be things towards growth and healing, restoration, and bonding, and focusing on what it brings us more than what divides us. So that if we stand in fairness and truth and justice, those things, doesn't matter where it's coming from, it is the truth, it is justice. It doesn't matter if it's a Christian or a Muslim, it is truth, it is justice, and that's what we must stand for. And that is the same ground upon which I fault whatever kind of endorsement that is coming from CAN or from Muslim Council or anybody.
Because for me, it has, I grew up in Jalingo, born and raised. I'm from Ukaiba. I grew up here all my life, I would say. And I have friends. If I write to the King's Palace, some kids. So I have friends who have different faiths, right? Really, Muslims and, of course, Christians. Let me say the basic, the basic ones. And there are undertones right now. You conversate, you're having conversations, and you want to have limits. So to some light, we are now unnecessarily cautious. We've lost heart. We are losing heart. We are becoming unnecessarily cautious over things that may or may not be even important. You don't want to trigger something. Now people are sensitive just because of some errors. You mentioned that, in the letter, losing our ancestral lands. If we are talking about ancestry, for me, I thought we were at first even traditionalists. But even if it's beyond that, I thought we were at first humans. So why is it not defending the human race? Why is it not defending humanity? We've seen campaigns of defending trees, animals, and plants, and people are united in that race. But yet humans who fight for these things are not united to fight for themselves. So how do you see it affecting these candidates, sir?
Well, initially, like what you made mention about you see, both the Muslim and the Christians, they have that constitutional rights to maybe bring out a candidate from. We used to have some these things, internationally. If you look at like Algeria and others countries, they have a party that is taking the religious this thing shape. But at the same time, in Nigeria, constitutionally in Nigeria, there shouldn't be a party like that. I think there is no any constitutional provision for that. Well, there are a lot of implication in doing that. The letter that came out from the Khan, you see, is creating more harm than good. Because what I used to know of religion should be a uniting factor, whereby and again the leadership as far as humanity is concerned, as far as democracy that we are pursuing is concerned, is about being justice to everybody, including even animals in the land. So if the society is now parallel and is divided based on religion, and now it's not thinking about who is the good person, who is the right person, who is the most qualified person to be in that seat. The thinking now is tilted to which religion you come from. That is the politics now. Or if I can say, even all over the country. I prefer to speak on the implication. The implication, you see.
On the candidates, that was actually, how do you see this affecting
the candidates? The candidate, there is implication on the candidate. Really, the candidate was brought and selected based on religion, maybe, if we can say, because they have the constitutional right to do that. But at the same time, if the candidate that is selected is a very right candidate, is a very good candidate, when he comes to power, when he eventually succeeded, then when he eventually succeeds in that post, he knows how to go about it. The essence is to ensure justice, to everybody, regardless of tribe, regardless of religion. So if the society, whether the Christian or the Muslim, made a very good choice and eventually the person succeeded in getting the seat, if that person is a very good person, when the Christian endorsed Darius, if he performs well, I think nobody will even complain about that. Yeah. The essence of religion, the essence of humanity is to have somebody that will guide them, will do justice, and will ensure that even an ant. I must bring issue of religion. Pastor is aware of the history of Prophet Suleiman. That this is how we address it in Islam. You see, at a point in time, Solomon was given the power even to control jinns and mankind. So he was traveling with his entourage. Everybody was around, including the jinns. Then an ant just shouted. That ant called her own entourage. I say, quickly enter your own houses so that Suleiman with his own troop may not destroy you. Then when Suleiman, because he was given the power to hear, to the power, that was a miracle given to Suleiman.
To decipher.
So when he had that, then he immediately stopped his troop until when all the ants around entered their own halls, then he began to move. So when a candidate is selected, regardless of whether religion or whatever, but if that candidate is a very credible candidate that is coming to ensure justice, there is the candidate, if it is the right candidate, I think I remember during vividly during the regime of UTC. I have a friend, Pastor Sheikha, which I think he constituted a committee, a reconciliation committee, including pastors and imam, and they began to work. And that time, there were I think they were relating and they were trying to put things in the right order until when another thing came off and another person was endorsed again. And this is where we found ourselves. And the reason why I always blame the preachers is that, you see, this preaching, one must have to master the methodology. The methodology. The role of the preachers is to preach to the leaders, to come to their sense. If somebody is not going in the right direction, look at Korah. We know the history of Korah. As powerful as he even arrogated himself to God. But when Prophet Moses alayhi salam was sent to him, what did Allah tell him? Allah tells him, go and speak to him in a very simple way so that he may come back to his own sense.
As Pharaoh now. Okay.
Pharaoh, yes. You see, so the issue is that all this thing, personally, I attributed to religious leaders. These two religions are supposed to come to meet, and they are supposed to be to control the minds and the activities of these politicians. But they are not doing that. They are not doing that because already some of the religious scholars have taken to materialism. That is what is. People want to live a flamboyant life. And if you want to live a flamboyant life, then you have to go to politicians in these days. So when politicians give you money, then you I think you don't have the heart to preach against them. That is the issue. That is the implication.
They've been bought.
The repercussion is going back to the society now. The society, me and you are suffering in the name of religion. A candidate is parading himself in the name of religion. Now, if he comes to power, who is going to favor? He will favor his own religion, the people that stood for him. Who are the people that stood for him? Those that were behind him when he was participating. So that is the most important thing for the two religions is to come together. To come together. Who is the right candidate?
Well, that's if at all they favor their religion, because at the end of the day, when suffering comes, everybody unanimously suffer.
You see, when the problem comes now, it consumes everybody now.
Yeah.
Everybody is in the is being consumed in the process.
So in the light of religion, faith, I mean, as Tarabans, if we are not being hypocritical about it, if outrightly you had to mention the best governor maybe we've had, everybody will somewhat says Dambaba was this, Dambaba was that, Dambaba was this. And never have I heard someone say, that Christian governor was the best. They just mention him as a person, not him as a Christian, or his faith, or whatever it is. It's the fact that now, so do you necessarily agree? Yes, I know you're a clergy. Do you see the part where religion rather, I wouldn't really rate it, but do you see the part where religion also creates a divide in the society, which is so unnecessary, going off its main purpose or target? As you earlier mentioned, it's supposed to be a unifying factor.
Well, indeed, religion can and religion has, in the history of the world in its entirety, even in the history of religion itself, religion has been a source of division, and it still can be. It is potent to be. It is very powerful that it can be. So, in the history, we know that there are people who have killed in the name of God. There are people who have massacred people. There are people who have planted bombs and killed and maimed and did all sort of things in the name of God, right? And be it Christians or Muslims or other people that we tend to call pagans and all of that. And you see, the thing with religion is that religion has elements within itself that makes it unique to be called a particular religion. For instance, Christianity has a unique element that makes it Christianity, and Islam has it, and paganism or traditional ATR, African traditional religion, they have it. So that immediately you see someone manifesting or behaving in a particular way, you say this person is likely a Muslim. For instance, simply put, if you are traveling and then you see people by the roadside or somewhere, and then they are bowing down at a particular direction after the ablution, you don't need to be told, right? Immediately you just see these elements and you put one and one together. You say, these are likely Muslims and they are observing their salat, their prayer, right? Now this is so religion. Every religion has these elements in it that makes it unique for what it is. Now most times, what makes us unique excludes other people. So it's very exclusive. Very exclusive in the sense that you have to be a Christian to be in this manner, and then if you are in this manner, you are so identified as a Christian, and it sets you apart from those who are not Christians. And so also with Muslims or ATR. Now there are some elements within every religion that makes it exclusive, and these elements can be found to be contradictory in other religions, so that on the same issue, this religion tends to take on the right, and the religion and they are parallel like that, and so there's no meeting point on these elements. Going forward, we know that there are many other beautiful elements within religion that are cohesive rather than divisive. They bring us together, they unite us more. And I think even for us at this particular conversation, I think it is to be asking the question, the way forward, because we have interrogated this so much so that I'm even afraid that we should not even popularize it, right? We interrogated it enough, and I think it's important to ask, okay, now, way forward, what next? What next? So indeed, religion has the capability. Religion has the capability of dividing people. It has divided people. It has the capability of... In peace and conflict studies, one of the things that we observe is that at the end of crisis, especially interreligious crisis, you will see a division in settlements and where people live. It happens. Even within us in Jalingo here, we have that there are areas that you go, these areas are predominantly Muslims. You go to some areas, dominantly Christians. That is most times as a result of some altercations or crises that is interreligious of a manner that makes people now to begin to identify with their own kind, and then they exclude. So you see exclusion. Now, children are born within these same communities. Who do they know? Their same religious brothers. Who do they interact with and all of that? So it already separates. You can now see that it has that potency in itself. And even in doctrine, even in creed, and even in way of living, there are elements that can divide us. But I think going forward is to investigate and nurture and publicize those ones that actually bring us together.
So while we might try to create solutions, I asked him a question earlier, so I'd probably like to have your own take. How do you see what has happened affecting these candidates? I don't know if you have an answer.
Well, you know, within them, in their various camps, first things is that these are politicians. Yeah. These are politicians, and you can just never be a politician unless you're a politician. And these people, they only need us when we serve a particular interest. We must never forget that. And I think it's very important to always put this point forward, that these people meet. Look at their weddings, for instance. They intermarry themselves. Look at the endorsements they give. Why do you see that they just make adverts of vacancies, maybe to NNPC, to EFCC, or high-paying jobs on the papers, and you keep applying to the portal? Nothing happens. Why do you think that? These people recommend, they cycle it among themselves. They are their kind. They keep their kind. So within what is happening in their camps, you and I may not be privy to all of that, unless, of course, we have ears in their various camps. How that goes to affect them, we do not know particularly. But what we know is that their comfort in it or discomfort in it has a way of going down with ripple effects in affecting us on a daily basis. Because whether we like it or not, look at the pictures of all of the politicians. There are gatherings that you see all of them there. When they are going to on their yards, and they are going on their private jets, and they are of a kind, of a class. They only need us when conversations come up like this about who to vote, and then they want to pursue some interest. Apart from that, I think that their silence or their comfort or discomfort is what we should pay attention to. But how it actually affects them, we do not know. I mean, to take for instance that we may think that this would be a bad market for the person, and then the person has the instrumentality to go and even rig election, and he rigs the election and he wins, and you and I will sit down and analyze and think that maybe it was the endorsement that gave him or not the endorsement. So these are things that are very complex to just say.
So
this
why
or that,
you made mention of, I mean, we know these things. We know that this would don't necessarily belong to our class, social class. When I say this, we know these truths. We know the fact that we've been more or less forgotten. So, but then, why do we keep falling a victim of this? This is not something that has just started, but the next 3 years after the person has been voted into office, this will be forgotten about this, and then the next election cycle, we are now victims of what's like a friend of mine would say, what's wrong with the African man? What's wrong with the African man that he keeps letting himself follow this trajectory? Why do you think this consistently happens, sir?
That's the most important question to ask. I always ask myself, and I ask people around me, and you see, we enroll ourselves in schools in order to be civilized, to change our own attitudes. But you see, I think the aims of going to schools, in some cases, I think has been defeated, whereby people, we really from what we have been what we experienced in the past and what we are experiencing now, I think even a child in secondary school is aware that these politicians are just using us and dumped us. And at the same time, because of the primordial preachings in our religious centers, and that is what is bringing people back to the problem again. I always attribute that. Why is it that either a pastor or imam is aware of that? Why can't the pastors and the imam come together, since we realize that this is the problem? Are we not trying to save our community? If we are trying to save our community, then we should work towards breaking that monopoly that is affecting the whole of the society. And I'm happy. I don't want to digress, but I must digress a little. I'm happy when Pastor mentioned that religion is a factor that will create differences among people. No. To my own personal opinion and to what my personal experience and from what I read in my religion is a factor of unity. Because the God Almighty created every one of us, tribes and religion. What God says is that it's for you to understand your differences so that you come together and live together. So this factor, you see, that's another problem in Taraba. Now from here, if you come, the moment you drop from ATC, all the houses, all the quarters here are Christian quarters. Then from another point inside the town, you find out that these are Muslim quarters. So that means that we built a very big barrier between us. Is that sound for the generations? It's not. So whether we like it or not, our actions, whether we preach to them or not, a child that is growing up, already that thing has been inculcated in him. Our life before now, the life of our forefathers, which they intermingled, and even some of them in intermarriages, and you see, go and see them the way they relate, you see. But now, we have created a big barrier whereby people are now, if you want to buy a land now in Taraba State, you will be looking at where, if I'm a Muslim, I will be looking where the Muslims are dominant there. Yeah. If a Christian will be looking for, it's not sound for it's not good for the state. It's not good for the state. It's not good for the generation. What we are doing now, what is happening with us, I want to repeat it again. What is happening with us is the inaction and the misdeed of the past. Yes, what I mean is that those people that existed as politicians in Taraba State failed to do the right thing. They failed to do the right thing to guide people based on who is the best person to lead you. Go to other states and see. Development is going there. Development is going there. I was in Gombe when, I was traveling, going for my service. Then I slept in a particular place. Then I heard the news that Gombe was given a state. And look at Gombe now. Yeah. Compare Gombe with Taraba. Because of what? Because of our differences. So religion should be a factor of unity rather than division. So I still hammer on those in the field of preaching, they should come to the sense. I think recently, before this election, some groups came along all the way from Mina and organized a seminar. 5 days workshop, I think interreligious workshop, whereby people came and there were interactions, there were discussions. It seems that people, the participants understood and have a change of mind and attitude. But look at what is happening now.
I mean, these things happen. These things consistently happen. These interfaith workshops and things like that. It's more or less going to school, and as soon as you leave the class or as soon as you write the exam, you more or less forget whatever you studied.
You see?
We are used to forgetting. Some things are more or less just, I don't want to use the term religious, but some things are more or less forced on us in some sense. While he did not necessarily agree to the fact religious divides, he said some parts of religion actually cause division in religion itself. Now, as Tarabans, I personally, speaking for myself, because this is what this is about, right? I have cousins who are Muslims. I was telling a friend of mine from the Southeast, I was like, you barely find a family that is completely all Christians, yes, or completely all Muslims, in Taraba particularly. I have uncles who are, do you understand? And so that means if we are skeptical about ourselves in this bigger space, it simply means even amongst our smaller spaces, there's this distrust. So when there's a saying, when the chips are down, only then will you know who your friends are. So does it mean even within our family zone, there's this distrust? Now, there's this way blood is less, religion is first. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
Humanity is less, religion is first. You were talking about us creating solutions. So while you answered this, I don't know if you understand the context to it I was relating to. Answer it and then probably suggest how these things can be done differently.
Okay, before then, if you could just permit me a few seconds to just make a comment about why do we have recurrence of masses falling
victim of
the play of politicians? There is something that two things I would say. One is that weaponization of hunger and poor education. They have mastered, they have weaponized
subconsciously, because I don't think some of them even do these things consciously.
No, it's conscious. It's very conscious. For instance, do you know that despite the way that it may seem fatiguing for a politician to make you look that he is fatigued by the fact that he wakes up every morning and there are hundreds of persons in front of his house, he tells you that he's disturbed and perturbed and fatigued by this. He can tell you that, right? Now, okay, just ask yourself, how then can I reduce people from coming to this? Empower them. But you know that people don't do that. What they prefer is that people keep for these peanuts and for this. If without weaponizing hunger and poverty, politicians are not going to have us for a ride. What do people clamor for when these times come? It is here in Taraba State that we have our sitting governor himself, the architect Darius, who went for a campaign. And in that, he said, Albishirun Kumata, right? Nazo de Magi, Nazo de Shinkafa, Nazo de Rapa. Now, if for us who sit to analyze social things like that, right? You just need to take these words and you need to take the aura around when he was saying it, and that tells you that it is just weaponization of hunger and poverty. If they were not poor and hungry, he would come and tell them that Nazomuku the scholarship, Nazomuku the whatever 5Gs and 10ers, Nazomuku the whatever, Nazomuku the powers, the different sorts of power. Like we don't need to use fuel again or gasoline. We're going to. These are the conversations. These are the conversations that politicians have. Nazomuku with new health scheme. That is it. So weaponization of hunger, like I said, that's just by the way. Now, going forward to say, okay, when we come down within the family setting, that if we cannot trust ourselves at a larger scale, as a state and even as a nation or as a world, as a globe, what about when we come to families, especially families in Taraba? Now, everyone here except myself didn't. I did not say I'm from Taraba, so I'm from Taraba. I'm sure that's why I was invited here. By the way, so I'm from Taraba myself, right? My parents were all from Taraba. I'm from Taraba here, and it may interest you to know that I had my primary school in Mel 6, Hawaii, and I keep saying this everywhere I go to. That is because so that a young boy there, a young girl there, sitting in the sun there can remember that someone was once there, and then this is where we are, and we're hoping to get even more improved. So this is how I'm going to approach this question, right?
Yeah.
The same things that are bad happen within families and societies that are even just homogeneous, speaking only one language and believing in only one religion. The same evil things. For instance, even in a family you have cases of theft. Both in the families that are just Christians and in the families that are just Muslims, we have cases of theft. We have cases of malice. We have cases of different things. Home accidents happen in the same homes, whether Christians or Muslims, everything, the same problems that we have. But with the human psychology, it has a way of wanting to blame. The human psychology has a way of wanting to blame. Yes, in the scriptures in the book of Genesis, when God interrogated Adam and said to him, Adam, have you eaten of the fruit of the tree that I said you should not eat? And then the answer to the question, where are you? Have you eaten? Adam did not say, yes, I have eaten and I am sorry. Adam did not say, I was not sure if it was a fruit or not. Adam said, it was the wife that you gave me that gave me the fruit. Now, if you check the semantics, what he is saying is that it is the fault of God. It's the fault of God. Yeah, that's in the semantics, that's what it means, because it is the fault is the wife, yes, but it is the wife that you give me. If it were the wife that I took for myself, maybe she won't give me that fruit. But so what we are saying is that the human psychology has a way of wanting to shift blames. And then if you are ready to hang a pig, any rope can serve. So we begin to paint colors. Out there, it is not a matter of Christians or Muslims. Out there, it's a matter of race, a matter of color. And then they say it is the colored people that did that, it's the white people that did that, it's the red, it's the aborigines.
There's always a divide.
There's always that divide. The human psychology wants to shift the blame somewhere. So now, even within the families, we find that. So when these things happen, they will say, he's not even a Muslim. What were you expecting from a Muslim? But even a Christian can do the same thing and has done the same thing and even worse. And then they say, he's a Christian. What do you expect? He's a Christian. That's what Christians do. But even Muslims do that and do even worse. So the going forward is all about education. It's all about avenues like this. It's all about coming and removing all of these vestiges of things that becloud our true judgment as to justice and truth, and empowering people with education to say that this is wrong and this is right. It doesn't matter from what quarter he's coming from. It doesn't matter who says it and what pole he stands on. This is wrong, this is right. And unless we get there, we will never be powerful enough. But Mali said it now, emancipation of the mind. If the mind gets it wrong, that's forget it. And Karl Marx is saying that religion is the opium of the people. So when you call religion, everybody just and then so it's sad.
So quickly to the solutions, basically. Okay. What do you think we can do?
In my own opinion, I don't see waiting for government employment as a solution to our various communities in the country, including Taraba, more especially Taraba. For people now to go to school, graduate, and be hoping to get white-collar job, I think it is a thing of the past now. You see, I want to compare the activities in maybe at the international level, maybe at the domestic level. Let me start from home. Looking at Kano, looking at Gombe, and looking at Lagos. I was in Lagos in 1996. You see, the euphoria in the youth, if you graduate, the moment you graduate, you will be hoping to get a ticket that will make you to fly over, to go outside, just to leave your country. Going there to do what? Not to get employment, to find a way of getting how to do business. I think I stayed there for almost 6 years, and I've learned a lot. I was working with one company, then I have to stop and engage myself in small business. Come and see. Before I left there, I don't want to tell you the business you see, but I was even what I have in my post. If I go around to see some friends, I dash them 1,000. That was around 1997, 96, 97. When the federal government pays only 3,500 as minimum wage to federal government workers. If I dash a friend 1,000 naira, he would be happy. But what I was doing, come and see what I was doing. I don't want to say it here, but it was a lawful business. It was a lawful business. I was a graduate then, but I decided to leave simply because I felt that waiting for this white-collar job, that time there was embargo all over. You go to this place, no employment. Embargo because of the military era. So I think it is high time now for our society to begin to think of even inculcating in our youths that finish and get government job. No, we should inculcate in them the spirit of initiative. All these simple things that we are using, including even mobile phones and some other things that we are using, most of them are shipped from China. You see, underage people are constructing this, and we always wait to consume it. So we have to begin to think, in Taraba State, farming is even enough. We have a very fertile land, you see, and there are a lot of other things to do. So I think our society should begin, because if you begin to queue in for government employment, you must go through the politicians. You must go through either a senator, a governor, your reps, and before you get that, you have to go and say, Allah, you see, all these things, we want to, what will bail us from all these things? We have to be independent enough so that if the politicians come, I'm a farmer. This year I farm 100 bags of rice. What are you saying? If I have 100 bags of rice, I can feed my family, I can be independent, I cannot be queuing, I cannot be going to his own house looking for, okay, my wife, Matanata, please. You see all these things. So the way I'm looking at it, I think it is high time for the society to begin to think of inculcating this spirit in our own. You see, all this developed, go to China and find out what is the secret of their development, is that they have inculcated in their youths. And another thing is that we should inculcate the spirit of being a very patriotic citizens. This issue of patriotism is what you see if you go to the Western world, the developed world. In their curriculum, they teach a lot of subjects about patriotism of a country. You see now, the moment crisis begin in a particular community in Nigeria, you see people going around, or maybe in Africa and Nigeria particular. You see youth be going around destroying. If it is a tar, they will begin to burn. Yeah. You see, these are spirit of unpatriotism. We should begin to think of teaching, inculcating, putting in our curriculums. And another thing is that, you see, the community leaders have a role to play. We have community counseling. In those days, we don't have these professional counselors. We knew that through this elderly counseling, youth will be very courageous to do this, to engage in this, to engage in that. But at a point in time, this white-collar job continued to deceive us, up to the extent that, you see, a traditional ruler now will be going to a politician that was elected yesterday, maybe from his own words. And now you have to go and beg that person to give your child a job to do. After all, you have all the resources around you. You have all the potentialities around you, but we are not harnessing them. So part of the solution is that we should begin to think of innovating, just for a community to form a cooperative set of assisting one another. You see, a sort of, okay, we pooled our resources, then we sponsor one person, engage in this business. Pool your resources, sponsor another person, teach them how to do it, encourage them. You see, all these things, I think, so much dependence on government, in government employment, in government activities is what is pushing us to the backbench always. And the politicians, like what you mentioned earlier, you see, I want to say this before maybe conclusion, though it may not be part of, we should always understand the same people that came round and sought for our own votes and we voted them is the same people. Is the same people from their own comfort. They create the engineer crisis, manufacture something and engineer crisis within the community. And it's to their own advantage. My community is in crisis now. Look at what happened in Borno. There were accusations about all around about maybe some of the representatives there. You see, if any crisis in the society is going to their own advantage, it's the same people that will be called upon to sit in the boardroom, decide about the community, and government will vote money there. And you see, if they come back to share the money, they will begin to look for their political associates. Even they will not be targeting the people that are most affected in that aspect. So I think it is high time that we should come to our sense, especially the religious leaders. If, like what I said earlier, if care is not taken, what happened to the traditional institutions? If care is in some decades to come, if we continue to behave in this way, in some decades to come, we may not be alive, but we are afraid of what is going to happen to religious leaders, because religious leaders are now queuing to the politicians, whereby a politician will pronounce one word and it's going to be a command to the religious leaders. It's not supposed to be
so
like that.
Instead of being guardians, they are rather being guided.
Yes. Now the body is controlling the brain now. Yeah. And it's upside down. So you see, when this thing is happening, then the society will begin to go upside down.
Basically, mental emancipation, right? Well, in the same right, as he mentioned, these things always have issues. We're talking about empowerment. There are people who have genuinely, governments, regardless of how poor they've performed, over time have come in with some sort of training. I mean, we've seen Shopee, we've seen Urine, we've seen, you understand? And you see the outcomes. You are given machines after being trained. The first thing you do is sell them. But that's another topic for another day, right? In the light of, if I amongst just the endorsements, divisions, even in ethnic clans now, I mean, Agbu was endorsed, the Jukun man, right? Now I hear there's like a rift between the Ichens and the Jukuns. They endorse you. So there's like a divide already. So beyond religion, ethnicity, but again, that's another story for another day. But basically, it's the fact that we are not supposed to lose our humanity. I guess all of us agree to the fact that endorsement was more or less unnecessary in the context of the wordings, right? More or less unnecessary because it rather maybe triggered and that's why we are here to maybe douse the tension, or if we can, but remind ourselves to the fact that we are humans first. Criteria should matter. If I invited you over. I mean, when we fly planes, you enter the plane, you don't necessarily want to know whether the pilot is a Muslim or a Christian. You just want to be sure the pilot can fly the plane, right? And no state is necessarily innocent of these divides, honestly. In Africa, in Nigeria, the country in itself, we just finished the presidential elections. I mean, we don't want to go into the conversation, but that divide was there. So the earlier we take ourselves out of this, the better I think it will be for us, for people to be aware that it's between them and us kind of situation. It's rather sad, but it's between them and us kind of situation, that using religion as a bait for disaster, the time for it should rather come to an end now. And then knowing who you listen to, and then for the religious leaders, being able to be sensitive to the atmosphere and being cautious to and standing by the truth. I feel like the truth that would rather create disaster is not necessarily the truth. I believe the truth always stands to uphold oneness. If the truth should create disaster at some point, it's not necessarily meant to be said.
Well, so sorry, I'm a student of philosophy, right? So sometimes truth can divide
Yeah.
people. Sometimes
Yeah,
because when people are united in error,
as soon as I
right?
said that,
Yeah. So
in regard to reading the room, is it even necessary to say that truth if it would divide?
well, there is always what we call temperance, even in temperance, and temperance is that you do the right thing, but with moderation.
Yeah.
It is right, but you do it in moderation. For instance, it is right that you should eat,
Yeah.
but there should be temperance in eating. It is right that you should wear clothes, but we talk of modesty in dressing. It is right that you should have a house, but we say there should be temperance, there should be modesty, there should be decency. So, as much as truth telling is right, there is also the need of temperance, so that when it does not promote for good, in theology, we say that prayer without praise is almost a protest. You see, so if in it that if you are saying the truth, but the end is not for positive growth, you're almost just wanting to scatter everything. You're almost wanting to just, some people want to be popular by just saying what is the right thing to be said. It is not in the spirit of correction. So the word is temperance, the word is moderate, the word is decency. So even in laying the truth, because when you go to the hospital, there are drugs that are meant for the ailments that maybe by the diagnosis of the doctor. But even in the administration of those drugs, there are sometimes step by steps and all of those things. And even like what they do in AA, those people that are addicts in alcohol, withdrawal. Is somebody that is addicted to drugs and all of that. They don't just pull you off from it and all. So there's steps on all of that. So even in truth telling, there's need to for
like
temperance.
dosage.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Doc and Padre. I don't know if I am allowed to call you that. And as I said earlier, this is just our opinions as individuals. He didn't speak on behalf of Muslim Council. Neither did he speak on behalf of Khan. We spoke first as Tarabans and how this affects us. And so this is just us being honest and genuinely in a safe space in our state, because we can. Thank you very much for listening. I would urge you to like, share, and subscribe. I'm Jerry Manuel, and stay safe.